Hello, my name is Alex Aungst, CHS class of 2019. The date of this recording is Monday, February 9th, 2026 at 6:51 p.m. Eastern. This interview is being recorded online via Google Meet at our respective homes. Susan, if you would like to do the honors of stating your name, your class year, the years that you played, and what you played, or what your roles that you had, that would be appreciated.
My name is Susan Stern. I was Susan Waite in school. I graduated in the class of 1976, and I played the bagpipe.
Oh, the bagpipe.
Yep.
When they when did they stop using the bagpipe? I wonder.
I do not know. I'm not positive when they started. I know they were not using, there were no bagpipes in the band as far as I know in 1972. I started in Central Band in the fall of 1973, and they had bagpipes then. Shaffer did not have clarinets, which is what I played in the band when I started in 10th grade in 1973. And so you had to pick a different instrument, and I chose the bagpipe.
So did he use the bagpipe as like a substitute for that part of the woodwinds?
I guess so. I mean, he had saxophones and like I think other clarinet, um, other kids who played clarinet in junior high with me. Some chose the trumpet and went to other instruments, but I guess I don't know. I'm assuming he used it as a substitute. I don't know. It was kind of unique.
It does sound very unique. It's pretty cool. Um, so just to touch on this first question here, just to make sure we get everything situated, how did you first get involved with or become interested in joining the band?
I started playing an instrument. I believe I was either in third or fourth grade. Um, Mr. Fisher, Paul Fisher, Pot Fisher, offered lessons for instruments, and I started to learn to play the clarinet. Played the clarinet in elementary school. We did have concerts, and we did march and parades. And then when I entered junior high, which was seventh, eighth, and ninth grade, when I went to junior high, the band was under the direction of Melvin Bennett. And I played the clarinet in my seventh and eighth grade year. And then in my ninth grade year, I played something called the lyre. I think that's the correct name of it. It was sort of like a xylophone on a stand, or you could carry a harness that you could carry it in a parade. I played that in my ninth grade year, and then I loved the band, so I had every intention to be in the band in senior high, and so then I played in my 10th, 11th, and 12th grade years. I played the bagpipe.
Okay. And as far as like the band when you first joined, and I guess throughout your time in general, what was the size of the band like?
We had a really good sized band. You're talking about like senior high?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good sized band. I would say we had somewhere between 80, 80 and 100. Now that they weren't all instruments, that probably included the color guard. Um, but we had a large sized band, a good sized band. Definitely
Mm,
a 70, somewhere around 70 instruments, probably.
mm.
That's my recollection anyway.
How do you remember Jack Schaefer, and what memories do you have about him in particular?
I remember when I was in high school, I was pretty uh, quiet, I guess you could say. I don't know, but he was scary. I thought he was kind of scary. He was very tough, very strict. He expected a lot from us, but he was very well loved by. There may have been some who didn't, but I think he was very well loved by all the members of the band. He was very well respected. Thought everyone thought very highly of him. Wanted to do well for him because he he wanted your best. He wanted your best from you. And so you wanted to give him your best.
Hmm. And about the any potential like assistants, instructors, or band parents that may have like assisted at this time, what memories do you have about them that may have like helped with the band?
We had there was a person by the name of Ernie Weaver who was also very um, instrumental in the band. No pun on words there, but he did. I think he was. We did a lot of competition parades. Of course, we had big shoes to fill because the band in the years before us had won a lot of awards in parades and competition parades. We also did a lot of field competition, and Ernie Weaver was someone who was very he was very important in, I believe, doing a lot of the choreography for our routines, and he marched also with the parades, and he was probably Jack's right hand man at that time.
Oh. Was he a graduate of Central?
No, he lived in Martinsburg. I don't really know how they got together. From what I can recall, Ernie had been or was involved in some drum and bugle corps, and I don't know if that's how they got to know each other. I don't really know. Um, I just know that he was like the other person who gave us instructions, not instrumentally, but in the marching part, in the routines that we did for competitions specifically, but then also as we were marching, keeping us in line, making sure we were in step, keeping our lines our lines straight, and things like that.
So, like, as for music and arrangements, would that kind of fall for towards like Mr. Shaffer?
As far as I can recall, that was pretty much all Jack, Mr. Shaffer. Ernie might have had a big part in the bagpipe in getting the bagpipes, because he seemed to be he was very encouraging and seemed to be kind of somewhat involved in those of us who played the bagpipe. But he may have had something to do with getting the bagpipes in the band in substitute for the clarinets.
Oh,
But that's just my thought.
no, that makes sense. Uh, and as for the other the well, I guess we'd call today senior officers who would play in the band, the drum majors, I should say. At the time, who do you recall as the drum majors when you played with the band?
When I was in 10th and 11th grade, I believe Tom Coral was our drum major. And then when I was a senior, I can't quite recall, but I think it might have been Ron Smith. But I know for my 10th and 11th grade year, Tom Coral was the drum major.
Hmm. And do you know anything in particular about them or anything that stuck out to you about those individuals?
Well, Tom was very tall, so kind of stood out over everybody else in the band. No, I guess not really. Tom had played the trumpet, but I don't think otherwise he was the drum major. And Ron also played the drums. So I'm not positive if he was the drum major in my senior year. He was in my graduating class, but I'm not quite sure about that. I tried to look in my yearbook, and I couldn't quite determine for sure if he was the drum major or not that year.
Oh, okay. Uh, and do you recall anything about the how the drum majors would kind of like present themselves or how they would carry about themselves while you were in the band? Like how distinct would they have been? Like how did they really stand out? Like in terms of uniform or like I guess mannerisms and stuff like that.
Um, so again, I do remember for when Tom was the drum major. I think I remember him like running on the field and being very, I don't know, stately, I guess you could say, kind of like a performance, doing sort of like a performance, and just being very like we had to be very straight faced. when we were marching, you had to keep a straight face. You weren't to smile. You weren't to, if someone from the sidelines called to you, you didn't respond. We, just looking straight ahead. So I think that he example was the example of that for us.
So like you're talking just calls on the sidelines. Do you mean like from like the crowd or like from other bands?
From the crowd, or if you're marching in a parade, your family members or friends are calling your name, you
Uh,
don't just look straight ahead. You don't smile. You just look straight ahead. You're not supposed to respond. And I don't know if some of that was also maybe required for judging. I'm not sure, but I know that Shaffer was also very strict about us being um, sort of stoic, I guess, like that.
mm. and 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 I guess just tie that into like the stoicism and all those like habits that you'd build up. This is stuff that you would go over, I'd assume, just in the practices. Is there anything in particular that you would recall about the say the practice schedule, or uh, how exactly like the routines in practice would unfold?
From what I remember, so we practiced during what's called extracurricular period after school. We had band practice every night, every day after school. That was mostly for the I guess I can't remember for sure. I know we practiced our songs then, and I'm assuming we also did some marching. I know in the summer we had band practice from what I can remember, and I might be incorrect about this, but from what I remember, we had band practice for marching and for working on our routines for competition every morning. We didn't have like a certain couple weeks of band camp. We had practice every morning.
So
Uh,
there wouldn't be a dedicated band camp.
no, we did not have a band camp. We had practice every morning. Now and we may have taken some days or parts of weeks off. I can't recall, but I just remember that we did practice every morning. Obviously, we tried to practice when it was cooler, but we had practice during the summer. And in during the school year, we had practice every evening during that extracurricular period. I know we practiced our songs then, and we may have done some. We probably did some marching then too. I can't recall exactly about that.
What memories stick out to you about particular practices that you did while you were there?
Um, I can't say there were any particular practices that stuck out. I just remember practices in general being, learning routines. At first, it was kind of confusing. But I remember it being a lot of fun. I do remember, obviously, of Jack doing a lot of yelling, um, keeping us, again, keeping our line straight, making sure we were turning or marching backward or whatever we were supposed to do. That was, again, another big part. Ernie Weaver, very much a part of that. Um, our practices, you were supposed to be at practice, stay at practice the whole time period that practice was scheduled for, and be involved in your practicing while you were there, not goofing off. And of course, everybody did a little bit of that, but mostly just paying attention to what we were doing. He wanted us to be. He wanted
All
us
right.
to be our.
Okay. So moving from practices and actually getting onto the road to perform at parades and festivals, how did traveling there in particular feel?
We traveled by school bus. We had three school buses. We filled up three school buses. And when we went to parades, when we went to field competitions, we that's how we traveled. We had a lot of band parents who went along to help us get dressed and carry water for you during a parade and things like that. We always went to the parade in Atlantic City, for the Miss America pageant, and I believe we went to the Cherry Blossom Parade in Washington, and we went to a number of parades. And I remember going to a lot of field competitions. but I remember it being one of the highlights of my school time, my high school years specifically.
Oh, that's really nice. Uh, and was there any like cool or intriguing places that stuck out to you that you had a chance to play at rather, or any place that you played at the end of the year that was cool, as similar to like a field trip or something?
I think the farthest we went for competition, we went somewhere in Ohio. It was down on the other side of Pittsburgh. I just remember when we did field competitions, it was just kind of thrilling, I guess, to see you were able to watch other bands and kind of compare yourself to the other bands, and obviously do your best. And when they called your name because you got whatever place, we got a lot of first places. It was just really exciting. Same thing with the parade. We competed in a lot of parades, and I mean, we didn't win, I'm sure, all the time, but just the thrill of knowing that you did your best and that all the practicing that you did paid off, and also to make Shaffer and Ernie Weaver proud that we lived up to what they expected of us.
And when you played at these places, whether it be like on the road at these parades and festivals or on the football field, what sections would you say sounded the strongest or played the strongest in terms of like depth and technique?
I could say the bagpipes, but that probably wasn't true. Probably the brass section and the drums. I'd probably say the brass and the drums were probably the most outstanding. I think the bagpipes were unique because I don't recall that any other bands had bagpipes. So we were sort of unique in that way. And our theme song was Scotland the Brave. I believe that was the name of it. And so that was our theme song, and or our theme song, I guess you call it that. Um, and it just playing that made you feel proud, I guess.
You mean like theme song for the band, like the whole band as an ensemble, or just like the section?
The whole band.
The whole band. So was that like sort of like a fight song of sorts?
No, I don't think it was a fight song. It was just like, okay, like if they did like if we were marching in a parade and they did the roll off to that was the most common song that we played at the time. That's the one I remember. I know we played other pieces of music. I can't recall the names of them though. I mean, that's been 50 years ago. But I just remember that particular song, and it kind of featured the bagpipes because it was a Scottish themed, obviously, song. Um, but we were Schaefer had sort of modeled us after a British band, our uniforms, and again that particular song, um, and kind of modeled us after a British or a Scottish band, I guess you'd call that.
Oh, do you recall there being not to harp too much on it, but like was there really a dedicated, you would say like a dedicated fight song for the central band?
I think it was just the alma mater. I can't. Yeah, I don't remember if we played other songs. I mean, I'm sure we played other songs. I can't recall any other fight song that we played. Somebody else might recall something like that. I just remember we played the alma mater a lot.
Besides, the festivals and the parades and the football games, do you recall like any other events that the band may have done in that time?
We had I can't remember if we actually did. I'm assuming we did band concerts, but I can't recall. So I not off the top of my head, other than the fact, like I said, we went to a lot of parades. We played, obviously, did halftime with football games, and we did a lot of field competitions. We were gone almost, I wouldn't say every weekend, but we were gone frequently on the weekends too. No, we didn't stay overnight. We would leave early in the morning and come home late at night. But we traveled pretty much every weekend to field competitions on Saturdays.
So during the time, like at football games, did you was the pregame show like the usual thing? Would you perform pregame, or would it be the halftime?
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I would say halftime.
You'd say halftime.
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh, and just to relate to the football games, did you have any memories of what it was like playing in the stands, or how others, would carry themselves on, in the stands?
Crap, because we only had a certain section that we were in. But it was, if your team, if we were winning, obviously everybody was excited and would play little songs, little bits of songs. Um, Other than that, no, I can't say I really remember anything more than that.
But was it at least like expected to, show some like a sort of restraint, like even in moments where the football team would be really successful in the field? Like what was the level there, in your eyes?
Um, I mean, you could show your excitement, but again, I think that we had to have a certain uh, restraint um, that was expected of us. But I mean, I guess we were like any high school kid that would be excited if your team was winning. You could cheer for them and whatever, but when you had to be prepared, because if you had to play, if they want to, if you were cued in that you were supposed to play a song, you had to be ready to play that. So you had to be paying attention as well, and you were expected to stay in the stands. We didn't wander around. At least I think we were able to leave. I think we were able to leave like after the third quarter, or sometime after the half.
Like just to get like food and stuff like that.
Yes.
And after you would do like a performance and stuff like that. Or let me actually go back here. Uh, Regarding like the perform like those shows that you would do, do you have any memories about a particular performance, or several performances of a song or show that you would do on the field that really that stood out to you as like a sort of long lasting memory?
I no. I don't remember any particular song. I can't say that I do. No.
Okay. Uh, and going back to the drill that you would do, uh, how often do you recall like just moving all around the field and stuff between and during songs? Like what would the drill have been like at that time?
Are you talking about like what would our routine have been like?
Yeah, just moving around like while playing.
Um, well, I mean, we had we had different formations. Like you'd be in your section, but all the sections different formation. Um, some might be going forward, some might be going to the side. Um, we when we had our routine, we pretty much used the same routine for um, our competitions. I don't think I can't recall that we learned like a new routine for each competition. We may have. Um, just remember them being kind of complicated at first. Um, I'm not sure how else to answer that.
Uh, and for those halftime shows, would it have been the same few songs, or would you have done inserted in or shuffled around a few other songs for each performance?
I think they were pretty much the same songs, from what I could. Of course, playing the bagpipe, we had maybe more limited. I have more limited memory of some of the songs, I guess. We had to make up our own music, so we just sort of made it up by ear, by listening to the melody of the songs, because we didn't have written music. So I don't remember. That's probably why I don't remember a lot of the songs, because we just sort of made up our own parts.
And would that usually be Jack Schaefer?
Um, him, but again, I think Ernie Weaver was kind of the one who was sort of in charge of us, and he would help us get our notes and our fingering and things. Probably most of the people who played the bagpipe were had played the clarinet, so I'd say the fingering was a little similar, and that made it easier. But I think it was more Ernie Weaver that helped us than Jack.
What was it? To touch more on his role, was he when you would practice? Would he be a sort of like a floater around when you practice? Would you split off into sectionals and he would kind of like check on each of you and see like what's going on and stuff like that? Like
I don't remember that we did a lot of sectional practices. We probably did. We don't. I don't recall that we did a lot of section practices like I know they do now, because my oldest granddaughter is in the band at Central now, and she talks about section practices. But I don't recall that a lot. I remember us practicing a lot as just as the whole band. We did get off and practice some on our in sections, um, in some of those practices that I had mentioned before. Again, I can't remember anything other than that. I just don't recall that we did a whole lot of just section practices.
going into your senior year with the band, did you feel a general mood for you and other graduating seniors? Moving on from band, did it stand out to you? From other years, I should ask.
I think it was kind of bittersweet. You're kind of glad to be getting out of school, glad to be graduating, glad to be going on to whatever you chose, a career or a job or whatever. But again, like I said, I think that I would have to say that probably the general emotion that I can recall of everybody who was in the band was they were in the band because they loved the band. They were in the band because they wanted to be in the band. They loved the band. They loved playing music. They loved marching um, with other people who enjoyed doing the same thing. So I think it was kind of a bittersweet sort of thing. Glad to be graduating, but sad to be leaving something that you enjoyed as much as you did. I don't recall, um, and again, I could be there may be other people who had a different experience, but I don't recall that a lot of the kids who graduated went back to do anything with the band as far as helping out with the band. Now, there may have been some. Um, I didn't, but that doesn't mean anybody else didn't. I just don't recall that. I know a lot of. I understand that some kids when they graduate then go back and maybe mentor or help out with sections of their particular section, with whether it's percussion or whatever. But I don't recall that happening at the time that I graduated. So it was sort of like when you graduated, you were done with the band.
Did it seem like there were at least some band members that would graduate that would seem like they would get involved into the musical field after band?
Oh yes,
That they
there were a number who got into music, or if they didn't um, do a musical degree, they may have still been involved in playing their instrument. Again, we never had an alumni band. Like there are some schools that have had alumni bands. Not really sure to what capacity they may have continued playing their instruments, but I do know that there were some who got into music degrees, or went on to get a musical degree, um, not necessarily in their instrument, but um, maybe in teaching music.
and what could you tell me about those people in particular, if not those people, about band members that you had really fond memories of, or that really stuck out to you?
Um, I know that some of the I know for sure of a couple of the people that I know from the band who went on to get music degrees that ended up teaching at some of the high schools. One high school locally for sure. Um, I just remember that being in the band, you learn to work as a team, and it was sort of like a big family, um, because you spent so much time together in practicing and also in the competitions. And being that we were sort of from a smaller, um, more rural area, you kind of knew each other anyway, and a lot of parents knew each other. It was sort of like a big family, and it was kind of, again, kind of bittersweet when you were knew, obviously from graduating from high school, but then also from leaving the band, that there would be some of those relationships that you would never have again, I guess. Um, I remember specifically being in the group that I was in, the section I was in with the bagpipes. You really learned, we did a lot of fun stuff together, riding back and forth to the football field to practice, marching or practice our routine for football games, fooling around and going for ice cream at Richie's and just different things that we did. And they were all fun memories that you were going to miss.
Uh, and so when you graduated, what was uh, what did life how did life afterwards feel like? How did the your experiences with the marching band really teach you about life afterwards?
I think it taught me. I think it taught me how to work together with other people to get things done. It taught me to respect people who um, had experienced things before you. Um, to respect their experience, to respect advice that they gave you. Um, I think it taught me to expect a lot from people, which is sometimes not necessarily a good thing. um, but expect people to give you their best. Um, and I think it also, for me, it taught me to respect authority, because I, again, looked at Mr. Shaffer and also at Ernie Weaver as, um, obviously they were in authority of us. And I had, as most other people did, I think, from the band, a very high regard for them. And I think that carried on through to people who were my, superiors or my bosses or whatever, to respect them and try to do my best for them.
In terms of just like music, is there anything that you've done in your daily life, at least if not recently, but occasionally, years after graduating and finishing up with band, that you've done musically in your life?
Um, well, I've never played the clarinet again. My daughters, I would have liked to have played, and I have actually, for a number of years, thought about taking up the clarinet again. Um, my daughter played the clarinet for a year or so when she was in elementary school, until she dropped it and broke it in half. And then she decided to play the flute. But I mean, I could get another clarinet. But I mean, as far as musical instruments, I played the piano a little bit, but I was more into vocal music than in my adult years, more into vocal music than instruments.
Well, I just want to leave off with any whatever miscellaneous things you have. Don't want to put you on a spot or anything. Just if there's anything that may not have like fit neatly into the questions or themes that try to run through here. I just want to know if there's other things that you wanted to add before we can cap this off.
I talked a lot about the band. I think I talked about the band to the point my both my kids got tired of hearing about it. Because I always talked about how much I loved the band and how many good memories I had, and how it did teach me really a lot of things. And so now my two oldest granddaughters are both in the band. My oldest granddaughter is in ninth grade, and she's in the percussion section. She plays a small bass drum. I don't know if there's a specific name for that, but she started in the band when she was in seventh grade, and she loves the band. It has made a big difference in her, giving her more self-esteem. And my her sister is in 6th grade, and she plays the trumpet, which really shocked me. I didn't think because she had no real interest in an instrument prior to 6th grade, but she also loves being in the band with Mrs. Swackhammer and Mr. Drum. And so I think that my I think that my encouragement in passing on my recollection of how important the band was to me and how much I enjoyed it, and how it was a very much exceptional part of my experience as a high schooler, has influenced them to the point where they decided to join the band, and they are both really growing and enjoying what they're doing. Um, Again, I just think it was a highlight of my high school years, was being in the band. And I know Mr. Shaffer was tough and strict, but he also could joke around, and he was a lot of, he loved the kids, and you could tell that he was um, very much involved in each person. He might not call you by name. Usually he called you by your last name, but he was, what did they call that? Thorn with a marshmallow center or something like that. Anyway, he had a
Did you have anything else to add to this?
no, like I said, I try to remember as much as I could. It's been 50 years.
No, it's understandable.
So there's a lot of things you can't remember, to completely at that point. But hopefully I have shared enough things that you could get an idea of what it was like to be in the band back in the early to mid 70s, and what the band was like then.
We've definitely covered more than enough
Good.
bases to get an idea, and to get a great picture here. Like I said, I did really enjoy hearing about your experiences here, and I hope everyone listening to this in the future leaves here with a similar impression that I had with you, Susan. We either be like older alums, or
Yeah.
with the memory lane stroll, or the newer alums with or the outsiders who are able to see something about the band's history.
But thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share my thoughts and my memory.
Oh, thank you so much for your time, Susan. It was a pleasure.
Nice meeting you.